Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holtecast for 7500toholt.com. I'm Jack Grimsey alongside Robert Lintott, as always. And not as always, coming off a Villa win and into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Robert, what do you make of it?
I make ecstatic thoughts. One win away from Wembley. What a thrill.
I was pretty thrilled when I saw the draw. It was
Yeah,
another pretty good weekend of results, especially, for Bradford City, who can taunt BBC for not even putting their match with Sunderland on, but
yeah, absolutely. They talked about that a lot on Guardian Football Weekly this week, and Barry Glendenning was making the point that how in the hell were the BBC supposed to know that they needed to put Bradford Sunderland on?
especially when the last match, it was kind of a weird TV schedule. They didn't all start on the hour.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange, but I think Villa did as well as could be expected in that draw. Really, the only goals were avoid Arsenal, Manchester, and Liverpool.
I think Arsenal most of all, really. I think Arsenal. You see Manchester United been getting called a long ball team or whatever, and I don't know. They haven't been great under Van Gaal, and especially in the cup. Cambridge almost beat them, and then Preston went a goal up, and a couple debatable calls could have even been 1-1.
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely could have been a replay there. There was a lot of BS going on in that match.
Even avoiding the winner of that draw is maybe just important, though.
Yeah,
If Villa can get to the next round.
yeah, absolutely. But really, at this point, I feel like if you make the semifinals of the FA Cup, you're calling it a win no matter what.
Oh, undoubtedly.
In a
If you
year
get
that's
through
been such
West Brom.
yeah, absolutely, and in a year that's been such unmitigated crap, just making those semifinals would be nice. We've got a guarantee of a lower league squad making the semifinals, though.
Yeah,
Because you've got Reading, is it Bradford?
Bradford, yeah, they have Reading and Blackpool have Derby.
That's right. Well, no. There's something
Oh,
wrong there. Reading,
excuse me.
Bradford. No, yeah. Liverpool Rovers is the only other lower league side
Oh,
left.
sorry, Derby went out.
Yeah, you were looking at the last week of it all. But yeah, Bradford, Reading. So we have a guarantee of one lower league side in the semifinals. That's not bad. We get to watch Villa on TV, 5:30 p.m. kickoff on BBC.
Yeah, and more importantly, not close to 5:30 a.m. kickoff.
For we Americans.
Yeah, and it would have been 4:30 on the West Coast.
Yeah, it was a godforsaken early kickoff, but absolutely worth it to see that win.
And another 2 goals in the cup, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely, and hitting the back of the net like you and I were talking about before the show 4 times. And you can say that sometimes and they're pretty egregious, crappy offsides, and this was a case where they were barely offside. They were good finishes, they were barely offside, they were, I don't want to call them ticky-tack offsides because they were right, but it was...
Yeah, but it's good they were clear cut though. If it's
Yeah.
really close offside and teams really struggling to score goals, and I don't know, then fans can get on the ref and the ref can get against the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So and I think it was a really good showing, but really only in the second half because the first half looked like junk. So what's the difference in the second half there?
It really the only intangible is Sherwood going into the dressing room. I don't want to put a lot of faith into his team talk, turning them around. But I don't know. Could have had some emphasis. He could have said just go out there and try to enjoy the football, I guess.
Yeah, he did tell them to loosen up, from all accounts. He just told them to play more freely, and it sure showed. But yeah, so Sherwood seems to be the variable there, and for our third episode we are on our third manager in as many episodes. There we go.
Well, technically fourth because they're like co-managers last time. Andy Marshall just the assistant to the manager.
The double-headed monster of the Marshalls.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andy Marshall, the assistant to the manager, he's the Dwight Schrute of Aston Villa football.
Someone's got to do it, I guess.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Assistant to
So
the interim manager, the caretaker manager.
yeah. So we talked about Sherwood last week. Now that he's a reality, you happy with the decision to appoint him?
I mean, I think so. I feel like they got really the biggest name that was interested in Villa. You saw a couple guys like Evram Grant, he ruled himself out, but there were some big names in the discussion. A lot of people unhappy because maybe they say the search didn't extend past the back pages of the paper since Sherwood was kind of the name in the tabloids as well. But we had seen him at Villa Park earlier in the season, so you have to think that Fox was at least talking to him for some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And given how quickly the search proceeded, it seemed like
Yeah, exactly. Faster than I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, it seemed like one of those things where Sherwood had been the choice before the decision was made official.
Yeah, and maybe on the day before Lambert got sacked, the day after the whole game, maybe that night, Fox was talking to Sherwood like you like maybe double checking, because pretty bad loss, and it looked like it was only going to go one way, but since they appointed him so quickly, you got to figure a deal was in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of downside to Sherwood. I think there are a lot of potential problems. We had some of the writers from Cartilage Free Captain on the site talking about him because I actually wanted to get intelligence.
Yeah, I really like that, by the way.
Yeah, I was really grateful to them because the problem is if you just listen to people on Twitter, you can't be sure how much is hyperbole. So I wanted to get intelligent people who would tell me real, honest answers, and they hung Sherwood out to dry. And these are not, just foaming from the mouth fans. They're smart writers, and they had nothing good to say about Sherwood except possibly his work with the youth team. Does that worry you at all?
It kind of does, but it really worries me because I kind of thought the same thing with Cleverley, like, oh, not good enough for Manchester United doesn't mean not good enough for Villa, but look how that's turning out. That being said, if Cleverley had a kind of a positive start, I think if Sherwood, or at least a neutral start, like if Sherwood can at least, well, maybe it's not good enough because we're in 18th, but if he could just keep Villa kind of level,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be totally boom or bust, even though it is Sherwood.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the complaints against Sherwood are very legitimate complaints. The fact that he is
His
tactically...
contract, I guess.
Say that again?
His contract, for one.
Oh, I hate his contract, but it's a matter of, I guess that's the only way they could get him to sign.
I don't really think the club had a very strong selling point.
Yeah, it just,
It was going to be anyone was going to get a contract like that.
I guess so. I feel like they could have done something with a lesser contract, but maybe not. I've since sort of put that out of my mind because I imagine that before that contract is up, this club is sold, so it becomes less of an issue.
Becomes back to being kind of a reward buyout like Lambert, which he actually did get from Lerner, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. So the contract kind of stinks. The fact that Tim's tactics are all over the board worries me.
The thing that worries me the most about it is that he doesn't like, I guess, defensive midfielders, and I don't want to see Carlos Sanchez swept away.
Yeah, I do sort of worry about that, but it may be a problem in the long term. The fact that Tim, from all accounts, seems to be throw everything forward, run a high line, don't really care about your defense. That may be a problem in the long term. I think in terms of surviving this year, that actually may be the very best strategy that Villa could do.
At least to go for it, and even if you get 2 goals, well, maybe you conceded 3, but some days they could have a bad finishing day and you win 2-1.
Yeah, and given the fact that this defense is really good, I don't see them conceding 3. I don't see them.
I feel like with Villar, one of his best categories is he makes a lot of like last-ditch tackles or last-ditch challenges.
Yeah.
And I don't know how high of a line Sherwood is going to make Villa play, but with Villar and they're making those kind of tackles, or I don't know, being decent at that, and Brad Guzan always pulls out top saves.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the attack is not playing the way they did under Lambert, which is slow, not hustling, just passing around, if they're playing a quick attack, they can get back a little bit more quickly. They'll be a little more tired, obviously, but
if you use your subs,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the kind of thing where if he plays a high defensive line, if he plays this really forward style, we're going to get burned against, the Manchester Uniteds of the world, the Arsenals of the world. We're going to see what happened against Arsenal happen again. But I think we'll also crush the teams that we should be beating, the teams that we haven't, in a game like Hull. If you play this attack forward style, I don't think Villa lose 2-0.
No, not I think with a quicker attack because Hull, you look at them, they're bunkered in, and they're one of the best teams in the air in the league.
Yeah.
And if you're pumping balls into the box, Benteke or not, you're probably not going to get on the end of the majority of them.
And the real problem was against Hull is we weren't pumping balls into the box. There was no intent to actually attack. There was an intent to get to the final third and then sit there.
Yeah, just like on the outside of the box, maybe 5 meters.
Yeah, it was like
any side of it. I mean, even if it went towards the byline, you weren't likely to see a cross coming.
Yeah, no, it was as if the box were an electric fence, for the little electric ones that dogs wear on their collars. We couldn't see it, but it was there. I think with what we saw against Leicester in the second half, that thing wouldn't happen, and Villa don't go down 1-0 because Villa were dominant in the first 15 minutes of that whole match. If they can get it into the box, they're up 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, I think so. And if you get up one, that gives you a lot more confidence, even if you don't keep pouring forward right away. It just seemed like they were trying to open the first 10 minutes with a goal, and then when that didn't happen, you were down 2 goals already. And then they conceded a cheap one.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the mentality was gone.
It strikes me, one of the comments that I saw on our site from a Tottenham fan was that with Sherwood, you're going to win the games you should win, and you're going to lose the games you shouldn't win, and there's not going to be much in the way of drawing. And again, that may not be a great long-term strategy. In terms of saving the club this year, though, that's going to get them to safety if they can do that.
I think so, and maybe even, I feel like long-term that's not the worst strategy because you look at where we think Villa should be finishing, 12th maybe, and then, I don't know, you look at next year, if you add a player or your squad gets better or whatever, then maybe you can expect to finish 11th or 10th, and if you're beating the teams that end up finishing there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it may be partially down to different expectations, right? Win the games you should and don't win the games you shouldn't is no way to win the league or to get into a top 3 position. It's a perfect way to get into a top 8 position, though.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, if you look at the cup run that we're in right now, it kind of came out of nowhere, and you just got to think every couple of seasons you're gonna have a chance in the cup. You got to make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Villa right now aren't a team who should be in the top 5. I'm happy if they can get 10. I'm happy if they can get to the top half right now. And, that's maybe not the ultimate goal, but after 4 or 5 years of relegation fighting, I would be happy to see a team that was safe come January.
Yeah, and especially if even if you're losing to top teams, sometimes you can do it better than losing 5-0 to Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Although from what I've read about Sherwood's tactics and whatnot, I can foresee a lot of that kind of loss happening. I don't think this is going to be team.
Well, I mean, if you go for it against Arsenal and then,
yeah,
you could try to steal a win rather than setting up to try to get a point.
Yeah, absolutely. I worry that we're going to be really mercurial, but I am significantly more confident in staying up now than I was this time last week.
Oh, undoubtedly. I think just last week it looked like we'd never score more than one, if we'd even get one in the league, in a league match.
Yeah,
but look, the thing I want to bring up with Sherwood is you look at Sunderland, they have 12 draws. They have even one win less than Villa, and they're 2 points better off because they've drawn 12 times. I think with Sherwood, maybe you don't get as many draws because you either go for the win and ended up giving up a goal, or you end up getting that goal and winning.
Yeah.
And I don't know, with 7 draws this year, you think even if we would have lost 4 of those and won just 3, I mean, if you split them, then you're still ending up with 4 more points.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do think it's a matter of expectations. People thought Sherwood was terrible because Spurs should have been a heck of a lot better than they were, I think. But for Villa,
Yet he's won a higher percentage of his matches with Spurs than any other manager in the Premier League.
yeah, I do think though,
59%. But
that,
it is just 13 out of 24, or out of 22, so not even two-thirds of a season.
yeah, I do think that win percentage stat is a little disingenuous because if you look at points percentage, he's not quite as.
Yeah, that's because he doesn't take any draws.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Or
again,
prisoners, but
I think that's a problem if you're challenging for top 5. I don't think it's a problem if you want to be safe and, ninth or 10th, which is what I want from Villa right now.
yeah, but that being said, maybe 2 years down the line, you have to tell him to play with a defensive midfielder, or you upgrade the defenders even more. And because you look at, I mean, it's kind of the other thing. Sherwood is the youth players, and a lot of people are looking forward to seeing all the youth players come through now at Villa. But maybe he was only playing the youth players just because he knew what they could do, and he knew they would trust him actually.
Yeah.
And that's why you saw Bentaleb and Ryan Mason and Harry Kane. I mean, but on the other side, sometimes you just need to give those guys a chance, like Harry Kane. And Bentaleb, he's full international with Algeria. Mason, but...
Yeah, exactly. I hate Ryan Mason forever and ever.
I don't think he's good either.
No, I don't think he's all that great. He's kind of mediocre, but you gave him a chance. He's a solid squad player, I think.
Oh, definitely.
The other interesting thing to me is the one thing that's really going to change at Villa is we're not going to be boring anymore.
Yeah, well, at least be in the news.
Yeah, exactly.
And be not last on Match of the Day, because everyone cares about how Tactics Tim did.
Yeah, and to me, 10th place, aiming for 10th place sounds like being the most average, most boring team in English football. But the way that Tim plays, it seems to me it's going to be a win or bust situation, which is going to be thrilling. It'll make us angry sometimes, it'll piss us off a lot of times, but when it works, it's going to be a joy, and when it doesn't work, it's going to be a thrilling train wreck to watch.
Exactly. It's like one of those accidents you try to look away, but you just can't because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, finishing 10th, while it may be average, it's a hell of a lot better than we're doing right now, and maybe the way that we're going to play now under Sherwood will get people to go into Villa Park.
Yeah, absolutely, and be a team worth watching. I'm so sick and tired of sitting there for 2 hours and watching the dullest football possible.
And being a team that you want to pay to watch because they're going to actually win at home.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited about this, and I wrote on Wednesday, whichever day you're watching this, I wrote on Wednesday that every single negative comment I hear about Tim makes me want him to do better. I'm
Yeah, and you got to remember, he didn't have any experience before managing Spurs in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'm slowly starting to ignore the analytical part of my brain in favor of the, just flailing fanboy part of my brain. I want him to crush it. I want him to bring Villa to glory. I want him to prove, what I logically think will happen wrong.
Yeah, what everyone logically thinks will happen wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see him just crush it. And the thing that sort of tipped me over the edge was listening to Aston Villa Review yesterday. And they have some great discussion on Sherwood, and you should make sure to go listen to them. But at one point, Chris says, he probably won't be a great manager here, and if he does, it's a stroke of luck. And the first thought that came to my head was, yeah, but isn't most anything good that happens in sports a stroke of luck?
Yeah, it's always better to be lucky than good, really. I mean, if...
And God knows
really
Villa are due
he needs
for
to
a
focus
stroke.
on keeping Villa up, I think.
Yeah, and God knows we're due for a stroke of luck.
Yeah.
I know that's not statistically how anything works, but Christ, it feels like we're due for it now. So why not have it be Tim?
Yeah, and at least you're taking a chance on someone. You didn't bring in Glenn Hoddle.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or a Tony Pulis. I mean, a Tony Pulis type of
Pulis would have
figure.
been funny just to troll West Brom.
Yeah, he's a good figure. I see what he can do. I don't think it would have been exciting. I don't think it would have been fun.
No.
This is going to be exciting, and I think we'll be safe. It'll be entertaining. Sport will finally give us what we're looking for.
Yeah, and it's not like you'd be expecting or even hoping for a ton of goals under Pulis.
Yeah, exactly. It's he's not the kind of manager that's going to give you that.
No, but I mean, he does have a perfect record of avoiding relegation, and that's what he does.
I mean,
But
there's 13
then
matches.
again, I feel like West Brom are going to stay up with him or with like regardless with Irvine or not.
Yeah, I think so.
They're 14th right now. I mean, they could go down, but
There's 13 matches left, and of those matches, it's 13, right? It's not 14.
yeah,
Or is it 14?
13. It's
Whatever.
13.
Now, and with those matches, looking at the schedule, if you don't think about how Villa have played this year, and you instead think about the team they are on paper, like who they should be, there's 7 matches in there I think Villa could win.
Yeah, and
Uh,
if they won even 4 of those, I think you're safe because even with Sherwood, you're due for at least a draw or two.
yeah, absolutely. And we've got Christian Benteke, who has sucked this year. But Christian Benteke has shown us that in 13 matches, he could conceivably get 8 goals. Like,
Oh,
that's not
exactly. Yeah,
crazy.
he's had those kind of returns over his career.
Carlos Heel is not a great shooter, but he's shown a penchant for attempting it, and he's not an idiot.
And look at how he plays. He plays quick 1-2 balls. If you 1-2 the goalie, all you have to do is pass it into the net. You don't have
Yeah,
to curl it in from 20 meters.
exactly. This is, under Sherwood, and I mean, it's tough. I'm basing so much of this based on that second half against Leicester City. You play like that, and there's no way this club is as bad as they've been.
No, you play like that, you could still finish like 13th. It's still ridiculously tight down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it even worth talking about that first half against Leicester? That was the last gasp of Paul Lambert, I feel like.
You think so? Yeah, I mean it was kind of a quick exorcism, I guess, luckily. But
Got rid of the ghost
I don't
spirit.
know, it just felt like it was a poisonous atmosphere again at Villa Park.
Yeah, absolutely. And for good reason. The team was playing like crap.
Yeah, but there weren't even that many fans there, and they managed to make like a bad.
I mean, do you really blame them, though? Because they knew they were going to play like crap. It was early in the day. The team looked like junk. Um, that first half looked every bit like the whole match.
Yeah, it really did.
And then you get to the second half.
But at least Leicester weren't totally threatening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
At
it
least you
was.
knew they were the last place team that they are.
Yeah, it was pretty much everything we've expected from Paul Lambert. It's a match in which we sort of held the ropes. We were in charge, and we did nothing with it. I mean, we were totally in charge, and we looked as unthreatening as was possible.
Yeah, definitely toothless again. Just doing nothing in terms of trying to get a shot away.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that second half, it's a rejuvenated team. It's a team with legs under them. It's a team that's willing to make a run. Fabian Delph, for God's sake, got involved in things. Tom Cleverley worked his ass off.
Yeah, I thought Cleverley had a really good match defensively.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
made a clearance late on that was pretty important. He's getting into the tackles. I don't know. I thought he had a good match.
My favorite thing that I saw in this match was we've seen Villa for a while now having possession. What we've seen go hand in hand with that is when they lose possession, they don't work to get it back really quickly. And that changed this match. This was a match in which Villa had some aggression to them, in which they wanted that ball. And they didn't care if they lost it. They cared if they, didn't get it back immediately.
Yeah, you saw actually kind of some gegenpressing really if they lost the ball, kind of 3 players even chasing into the attacking half to try to
Yeah,
win it back and try to trap someone and win it. Because
yeah,
if you win it 40 yards away from goal, it's a lot easier to score. We saw the counterattack and like with Benteke and Delph the week before, and they ran into each other. It was just bad.
yeah, exactly.
And
I,
there's just less of a chance for things to get screwed up if it's a shorter counter.
You had 3 instances that just totally stand out in my mind. That Cleverly one that Adam found the gif of, with Cleverly, just busting his ass and getting back 20 yards to get a ball that had gotten lost. Yeah, that you had Kieran Clark's sliding tackle.
Kieran Clark floored Schlupp. Jeff Schlupp is.
Except he
He
didn't
didn't
really.
even know what happened.
He got all ball.
Oh yeah, but it was clean, and he still put his dude on the turf.
That, I mean, it's so strange in a game with 2 goals, which we haven't seen in ages, it seems like. That, to me, was the
Since the
single
last time in
best
the cup.
moment of the match, was Clark just flying in from, off-screen, practically, to make a pinpoint precision sliding tackle that just set the tone for the team.
Yeah, he was like 5 yards away, and if he didn't go for it was kind of like a fight or flight, I guess. If he didn't go in for the tackle, he was going to have to book it back and defend the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because that's where the attack looked like it was going.
Yeah, you saw that.
And everybody was in the other half. They were all going to have to get back.
Yeah, so you saw the Cleverly thing, you saw the Clark thing, and then you saw Vlar's control on a play that looked like it was about to break down. When he controlled it, fought for that ball, and then passed it into Bacuna.
Yeah, what an assist for a center back.
Yeah, exactly, and it was very calm. I mean, that was the thing. That in reality, that was a crazy tense moment, and Vlar looked like it never got the best of him. It was just very, okay, here's what I have to do.
Yeah, it looked like a World Cup third place winner.
Yeah, exactly. The Vlar that we haven't seen as much of this year. It's so encouraging, that second half.
And given save, I guess.
God, what a great save that was. Do you think any chance Given starts over Guzan?
In just next game?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There were stories about it, but I have the feeling it was people just looking for narrative.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's happy to be second choice and play in the Cup.
Yeah.
And speaking of, we saw Brad Guzan's article talking about how he flew his whole family out to Wembley, and then he had been the goalkeeper throughout the Cup, but he got switched out for Brad Friedel, and then they lost.
On the last
so
day.
what if Shea Given's just been doing so good in the Cup that he gets the start in the Cup final, and Guzan again has to watch from the bench.
Poor Brad. We'll never get to play in a final in Wembley. It's his burden.
I guess so.
But yeah, that match was that second half was incredible. Bacuna's strike. And Bacuna the whole freaking day showed exactly why everyone has been clamoring to have Bacuna back in the lineup.
Yeah, and he got some more playing time after he scored because it looked like he was going to get subbed off for Sinclair, but
yeah,
you just scored. We can't take you off.
Yeah, worked his ass off. That finish was brilliant. Just that little dip to the left, just enough.
Yeah, he's a natural goal scorer.
Yeah, just to pull his defender off balance, and then the step to the right and the kick. It was a gorgeous finish. It was the exact opposite of Scott Sinclair's finish.
I think he's somebody who we could see actually getting a lot more playing time. Maybe I don't know about displacing Hutton still, but at least getting a chance in the midfield, especially if you're going to be under Sherwood and he's running everyone to death. Someone up and down the wing like Bacuna can give you at least an hour.
I thought it was interesting the fact that Bacuna took that ball on the left side of the box. He was playing in sort of
right-footed.
Yeah, he was sort of playing in that Carlos Hill role of just roving everywhere, which I thought was really interesting. I had never thought of him in that role, and he handled it decently well.
Yeah, the thing I'd be worried about most would be his left foot, but he has a pretty good work rate, so at least he could get back.
Yeah, and that Sinclair goal was ugly, but you need a few.
Turned out to be necessary.
Yeah, exactly. God, who would have thought that? I thought it was the nail in the coffin, and oh God, it turns out to be the winner.
Yeah, just the lid, I guess, but.
And to me, the most impressive part of that Sinclair goal, though, was the assist that led to it.
Oh, he had a great touch to bring it down as well.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
Right. He just kind of scuffy finish, but.
But if you keep putting it on target like that, things like that are going to happen.
Exactly, and Villa have fired a league low 67 shots on target in the league this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that just shows you even lower of a strike rate than Stoke, 36% shooting accuracy. Stoke 36.6%, two worst in the league.
Good Lord. Benteke's assist to Sinclair, it's like he put a parachute on that ball. From 20-some-odd yards away, just lobs it up and drops it right where it should be. And like you said, Sinclair did really well to control it.
And Benteke, I think I saw someone, I can't remember, I think it was on our site, mention him in the build-up play more. That's what Sherwood wants out of strikers. And you see the passes. I mean, he can pick somebody out when you see him like 35 yards out in the middle of the pitch, spray it down the wing, can find someone over there. Even like not even just with the pass on the ground, you see him pick someone out with a decent ball in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
like he's a decent creator as well.
Yeah, exactly, and we've seen that already this season. His ball into Hutton, was it Hutton? Where he just lobbed it over.
Where Hutton brought it down on the wing.
Yeah. It was Hutton's goal, I think.
Oh, Hutton's goal. Okay, yeah.
Where he just dropped it in over the heads of two defenders. Just sort of chipped it up and over.
Hutton thought about screwing it up, but
yeah, exactly. But he had so much time because Benteke had placed the ball so perfectly. We've seen that from Benteke. Mm-hmm. So if he can get involved in ways that aren't just someone give me the ball and let me shoot, that would be great.
Yeah, if there's someone else who can shoot and make Benteke not get doubled, I guess, when he gets the ball.
Yeah, and for the first time in ages, Benteke actually looked interested in this match.
That too. I mean,
we haven't seen that in.
And I feel like with his finish that went in the offside, it just kind of motivated him more.
Yeah,
he didn't end up scoring, but he looked like he wanted to, I guess, more.
Yeah, absolutely. He looked good. It's hard to find much of a fault in the team in the second half.
Yeah, besides the tendency to look like they're going to concede 3 in extra time, which is the same thing against Bournemouth.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little bit of an issue, but they held on. They made it work. Do you think this transfers over to Stoke?
I don't know. You'd have to hope so, especially because Stoke lost 4-1 to Blackburn, coming off 2 4-1 losses in a row. They got walloped by City the week before, so and at least they're in pretty poor form as well. But
yeah.
You got to think because Sherwood, you think it'd continue from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we can get a win over Stoke?
Maybe just because it's at home. Although Stoke, the Potters are unbeaten in their last 4 trips to Villa Park. 3 draws though, just 1 win for them. But
is a draw acceptable at this point? Do you think?
Again, it depends on the kind of a draw. If it's 2-2, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess unless Villa race off to a 2-0 lead, which 75% of the goals that we've scored in the league have been in the first half.
I guess my issue is I'm not sure a draw cuts it at this point. This is the match that, to me, strikes me as pretty much must win.
All or nothing? I mean, I guess if you're averaging a win every 2 games, it's a 1.5 instead of just drawing for a point. What we had looked at is if we got a point for every game the rest of the year. And no, that's probably not going to cut it because we know we won't.
Yeah. I mean, if this match were a month ago, I say sure, a draw is fine. But because of where this match is coming, and the fact that Villa are in the relegation zone and look really bad in the league, I think this is pretty much must win.
Yeah, haven't won in the league in over 2 months.
No, and get Sherwood's reign off to a start with a win.
Especially at home, I think. I mean, all the people who are just like, I'm never coming to a game again under Lambert. Well, okay, come back and support Tim and give him a chance at least to win you over if they play well.
Exactly.
They play well, and if you come home with 3 points, then perfect.
The thought of a roaring Villa Park getting behind a 2-1 win, with Sherwood in the dugout is just, it would be awesome. It would be great to see that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a dream start for Sherwood. I think he could use it as much as a team, as much as anyone.
And I honestly think a confident win here, if they could somehow blow my mind and pull off like a 3-1 or something, I think at that point I stop worrying about relegation and wondering what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess long term you mean like next year. I think this year really.
No, I mean this year. I just figure out what they can do. Figure out,
Yeah, maybe I guess for the cup,
Exactly.
If you could pull off 2 or 3 in the league in a row.
Yeah.
Before that cup, that would make you a lot more confident throwing out a first-choice team.
Exactly. God, I'm looking forward to that cup, man. One question that came up on Twitter that wasn't specifically for this podcast, but I thought was really interesting. That upcoming FA Cup match is against West Brom. Earlier in the week, we play West Brom in the league, both at Villa Park. If you can only win one of those, which do you take?
Ooh, right now I'd have to say the league.
Really? Just for the sake of safety?
Yeah, because I mean, what if you draw? What if you draw the cup match and you play at the Hawthorns?
No. I think the
When
point
you
of it
split
was,
them?
you got to split them.
Well, if we beat, I don't know. I'd like to think we can draw Newcastle next week, but if we can beat Stoke and then win again in the league, we'd almost be safe.
Yeah, I think we're
Would you take the cup if we went down?
I would. Oh, if we went down, Jesus, that would
Yeah,
be. If we went down, I think we would have to win the cup to keep my spirits up.
I guess so.
But in that scenario of you can split the West Brom, I take the cup. I don't want to see the Baggies celebrating a trip to Wembley on Villa Park pitch.
Yeah, fair enough.
I hate them with every fiber of my being, and I don't want them going to the semifinals thanks to Villa.
Yeah, I just think we're gonna get the winner of Man United and Arsenal.
Which is fine. I don't care. It's
Yeah, I
very
mean,
much.
it's still getting to the semifinals, great.
It's getting to the semifinals. It's playing a match in Wembley, and it's not having Baggies advance to Wembley from Villa Park.
Yeah, good point.
All right. Well, I know you've got to get going here. So,
That being said, it would be nice to win both, but
oh God, yes, and I think it's absolutely possible. The Baggies really aren't that great, and they're in Villa Park, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's absolutely possible to take both of those.
yeah. So I mean, I guess just a little more on Stoke. They have a lot of injuries. It looks like.
Yeah, they're without Bojan. Bojan.
Yeah, he destroyed his knee in the cup a couple weeks ago, but also Stephen Ireland's gonna miss. It looks like.
Hey. Well, that's okay because we all know Stephen Ireland couldn't do crap at Villa Park.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you think he's just gonna score against Villa?
Yeah,
It seems like that's how those things just work.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they'll be without Ireland. I don't know. I think this is a winnable match.
I feel like 2-1's not a bad prediction. What you'd said.
Yeah, I actually think 2-1 is something that could happen, and they somehow make it a terrifying 2-1.
Go up 2 goals and then concede in the 85th, and then be under siege for the last 5 minutes plus 5 minutes of extra time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm enjoying this paragraph from the ESPN article. It's an unprecedented number of injuries or absences for the Potters, who can count just 7 first-team players as fully fit.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think that's a great chance.
Jeff Cameron suspended. Mark Muniesa tore his hamstring. If you can't win this, you're never going to beat Stoke at home.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. So I definitely think we go for it. I'm going to have something up, I guess, today, maybe yesterday when you see this, about maybe who should play in Sherwood's first game. I think it's definitely got to be Benteke up front.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I don't know. We'll have to see. It could be interesting.
Yeah. You think it'll be 2-1?
I feel like 3-2. I feel like Sherwood's got to concede some goals, but then again, I think he gets the offense going.
God, the idea of a 3-2 with Villa scoring 3 goals is just beyond my mental comprehension.
Yeah, maybe Stoke will do an own goal.
I like that idea. Villa win 3-2 on the grace of 2 own goals by Stoke and only 1 by themselves.
Gosh, just last time we played Stoke, that was a horrible match.
Yeah, it was. It was, blech. But we can do the double now. This is our last chance to do the double for the rest of the season.
Yes, I mean Stoke's always a tricky team, and
Yeah.
I was just as shocked when we won on opening day, maybe 1-0.
Yeah, exactly. At Stoke,
So-
I didn't expect that at all.
Exactly, yeah.
So I don't see why we can't win at Villa Park. I'm gonna stick 2-1 though, is what I'm gonna think.
All right.
And you'll go for 3-2.
Yeah, I'll go for 3-2.
All right. We don't want to keep you too long because I know you've got stuff to do this morning.
Yeah, well, remember, still on iTunes, Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio, and of course we'll have coverage of the Stoke match for you. That's going to be on Saturday, normal time. So, till next time, for Robert Lintott, I've been Jack Grimsey. Thanks for joining us on the Holtecast.